Hey guys, welcome to the Skolo Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. So, sorry guys, I've taken so long to upload this part of the series. I've just been so busy, all right? You must know I also have a full-time job over and above what I do with my YouTube subscription. Unfortunately, you guys, you don't watch my videos enough. You don't, I don't have enough support from YouTube to do this as a full-time, okay? So I've got a full-time job and I do this part-time, and sometimes I just can't get to making the video. But this week I have done it, all right? So we have the latest video in the series. If you're just joining us, guys, have a look at the series that we're doing and watch from the beginning because we are very far in the series, okay? So let's just get through the admin first quickly. If you're new to the channel, remember to like, subscribe, do all of those things. Those are the things that help my channel. And perhaps if I get paid enough, I can do this more on a full-time basis. And then you guys will have your videos when you need them, all right? And go into the description over there, the show more. You will see links to everything that I say. I will link in the description. I will link it down there. I will put video timestamps. There will be linked to my social media and the previous videos in the series. I will link all of them. So this was part 7. So the one I'm going to do today is going to be part 8, okay? And as part of part 8, guys, we're going to finish up our application. So if you look at our dashboard over here, by the end of today's video, you will be able to have a subscription with PayPal and be able to query that subscription and see the next time that subscription is due. We have also finished up our billing page. So on our billing page, you'll see that you can see the count of the words that are there. You can see the next billing date, which we get directly from the subscription of the person who subscribed right now. You can see that person is now subscribed to the starter tier, and we give them an opportunity to subscribe to the unlimited characters tier, which is the advanced tier. So they can see their monthly limit, they can see the words they've used, they can see the next time they're gonna get charged, and so forth inside of their billing page. All right, and so all of this we're gonna finish off by the end of today, and you will be where I am. And next week what we'll do is we are gonna finally deploy this application, because I think we've done enough to deploy it. We can always add other use cases later, because to add another use case is simple. I think the sort of the foundation and the boilerplate of the application is done, that people can create accounts, people can create their profiles, people can count the words they are using, people can subscribe, and you can get paid for the guys that are on your application. So next week we will deploy this, and let's start learning. We are going to pick up where we left off last week. And if you recall, we had set up our PayPal button. So let me just close this. I've canceled the subscription. We had set up our PayPal button on the billing page. So if you go to the billing page of our website, you'll see that button there. And if you click on the button, you have options to either pay with your PayPal account or pay with a credit card. And if you pick to pay with a credit card, I want to see the billing that we had set up, and there was a bit of an error with the billing that we had set up. It looked like we had billed ourselves, or we are billing our client a setup fee. You see that bill there is $20. It needs to be $9. Actually, what we need to do is that it needs to be $9 including VAT. So we need to set it up accordingly. And if you open it up, you'll see that the subscription actually it includes $10. And then there's a startup fee of $10. So we are charging a startup fee, and then we are charging the startup plan. What we need to be charging is the startup plan of only $9. It has added a 15% tax, all right, to make it $10, which I suppose that's okay if we want to add a tax, so that people are used to paying sales tax, so that's fine. So this amount is actually okay. The only thing that we want to get rid of is this one-time setup fee, but everything else seems to be okay, because it has the subscription details. You can see the person knows and understands that they're paying for a subscription. It renews until you cancel, which is exactly the behavior that we want. We want people to subscribe once, and then automatically every month on a certain date, PayPal bills them the subscription amount, which is exactly what we want. We don't want to have to remember every month to bill people for their subscription. The system must do it for us. And this, they understand that that's what's going to happen. And you can see it starts on the 17th of July, and it goes for 48 months or for 48 installments. Perhaps we should have this happen in perpetuity, so that it's not only 48, but I suppose 48 is okay for now. We must just remember to keep renewing this. Okay, so what we need to fix for now is the setup fee of $10. So let's go back through our steps. If you recall, we had a couple of steps that we went through to create this subscription and figure out where is our mistake. All right, I'm gonna cancel this again. So if you remember my notes, these are my notes over here. We started with the authentication, getting our authentication keys, and then we created a subscription. And then but within creating a subscription, I think we created first of all a product, and then we created a subscription, right? So if you look at our notes, the first thing we need to do is this first URL is to authenticate ourselves. Okay, so you're probably going to have to do that again so that we are able to now transact with our new token, because if you recall, once you authenticate yourself, the token that you get here, I think it only goes for about an hour, so you must use it before it expires. But the payment and product IDs that you get, you can use forever. But to create those product IDs, you need to have your authentication to do it on the API. Okay, so you probably have to authenticate again, and then once we've authenticated, we can then do the subscription. We started by creating a product. We went and we did a code request here to create a product, and then we once we got the response from creating a product, we then went to create a plan. And this is the code that we ran to create a plan. And the problem was probably in this code that we ran, because if you look at the code, it has the product ID, it has the frequency, it has the trial. We had to remove this trial because we didn't want a trial, but it had the regular payment, and then it has this setup fee. All right, this is probably what we want to get rid of. This setup fee of $10 is what we don't need. We don't need a setup fee. So if you go back to our Postman, I still have, if you worked with me and you follow this tutorial exactly, you should have exactly the same things I've got. You should have a Postman where we did the authentication, where we created the product, and then where we created the subscription. There are 3 requests that we made to the API. So if you're watching this video for the first time and you haven't been following along, you are not going to be able to catch what we're doing. Okay, you're going to have to go from the start and watch from the beginning so that you can follow along what we're doing now. At this stage, you should have a PayPal account, you should have authentication keys, you should have done this with us last 3 weeks ago, and you shouldn't be exactly where we are right now, getting the same problem we're getting, because that is charging the wrong amount. Okay, so we're gonna fix that now. So let's get started by getting authenticated first. So let's look at the authentication code. Get used to reading documentation, because even if you forget what I teach you, all right, you should be able to go back and understand the principles behind what I'm teaching and sort of how to do certain things. So remember and get used to reading documentation, because most of the information is available in the documentation. So the first piece of documentation is the authentication. Read what they're saying. There's a curl code that they've given you, but we're going to be working with Postman, and the instructions for working with Postman is very, very clear on this PayPal page. Okay, you need to set up a post request. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. We've set up a post request. Okay, then they give you the URL to set up the post request on. And keep in mind that this is a sandbox URL. So everything we're doing here is only going to work on the sandbox, which means it's working with the fake information. It's not real. So even if somebody came here now and paid, you'd have to use a fake credit card. It's just to test that everything works and you've coded everything properly. Once you're done doing all of that and you've coded everything properly with the sandbox, the only thing you're going to have to change is those sandbox URL and change them to proper URLs as opposed to the sandbox URL. Okay, so we are still on the test sandbox. Once you've done that, then you come in here and you select the authorization tab. Okay, so we go to the PayPal, we click authorization tab, which is this one where we are. And then in the authorization tab, you select type basic and you put in your username and password in there. All right, so this is basic. We still have the username and password that we entered the last time. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to leave it like that. And then you go and you select the body tab, and you select this is the type of encoding that you're going to do. So we go to the body and we select this XXW form URL encoded, and then we just enter grant type client credentials. Okay, so we enter grant type there and client credentials there, and then you send it. It should then return to you your authentication, your API keys. Okay, so there is your API key. You've got the access token there. So I'm just going to copy this access token here, the access token. All right, let me paste it somewhere in here inside of my to be deleted file. I'm going to paste it in there. And then you'll see this is a sample response, exactly what you thought. The scope that it gives you, update seller, real-time payment. I think all the scopes we've got in here are there, but I didn't check. But in case you don't have the right scope, I'm sure there's a way you can update that. But we did this last time and we didn't have an issue, so that's okay. So the next thing we're going to do is create a product. Okay, so technically we've already created a product the last time. I just don't know where did I put my product IDs. So we did create a product the last time. I think I had them saved in here. Let me just double check. There you go. So I did create a product. So this was the product starter subscription. Okay, and this is the product ID for the starter subscription. And this was the advanced subscription. Okay, and that's the product ID for the advanced subscription. We don't have to recreate the product IDs again because the pricing was okay on the product ID. All right, so we're gonna leave it like that. We're not gonna do it again. But if you were doing this for the first time and you didn't work with us the last time, you can rewatch the video. But the next step would be to create this product ID. All right, to create the product. So we're gonna jump that and we're gonna jump this because we already have our product ID, and we're gonna go into creating the plan. All right, so there are two things you can do. You can update a plan or you can create a new plan. So we probably need to update the old plan that we've already created with the new information. All right, or we could just create a new plan. All right, you could just create a new plan and make sure that you create it properly. Right. So if we go to the second part, so this is the product part. I'm not going to rerun this because I'm happy with my product IDs. This is probably what we need to do again. Okay, so we're going to work with this product ID 50K is this product ID here, 50K. That's for the advanced subscription. We need to start with the starter subscription. Okay, so let's start with that. So let's replace this with the starter subscription. Okay, which is 6M, that's 6M whatever. Okay, and then this is now the Karabo starter plan. Okay, so let's rename this Karabo starter plan. Starter plan for $9, not $29. Subscription for the AI content writer. The billing cycles. The frequency interval is monthly and we charge once a month. Okay, the tenure type is regular. Sequence is 1, total cycles is 48. So it's going to charge for 48 months and it's going to charge once and it's going to charge in US dollars. All right, the payment preferences. Auto bill outstanding true, setup fee $9. So this setup fee is what we don't want. All right, so I'm going to remove it. So setup fee. So let's try and remove this whole setup fee here. All right. So auto bill outstanding true, payment failure threshold is 3. Taxes. Okay. So the taxes is 15. What we could do here is we could say true, then it would really only charge 15% from the $9. So it's not going to add on top of the $9 and charge the $10.45 that we saw. All right. So let's see, payment preferences, payment failure threshold, taxes, and so forth. And then currency code is $20, interval unit. And I think there is a header that we need to add in here. Authorization. Okay, so this is the plan number. So this is the plan request ID. So we need to probably change this because it will remember the plan. So this must always be unique for every unique ID, for every plan ID that you create. So we've already created one within the 002. So we probably need to change that. And this is the authentication token that we need to replace. All right, so we need to replace this bearer token with the one that we just received now. Okay, otherwise this request is not going to go through because the last authentication token that's there is has expired. So we need to just replace that in there. All right, so I hope this is okay, and we're gonna try that, and let us send this. There you go. So let's see what it's sending to us. Okay, so it's this is the ID, the product ID, the name, the status is active, the description, create time, the links. All right, PayPal. This is okay. All right. So if you wanna patch, this is probably updating it. If you wanna patch this, plan, this is the URL you would use. Okay, and then you would to edit the thing. If you wanted to get it, this is what you would use, and then if you wanted to deactivate it, this is the URL you would use. And I think I did copy this entire thing and put it in my to be deleted file so that I always have this reference. So over here, let's remove the old one and put in this new one. All right, so that now that we have this one, what we need is this product, is this this ID here. Okay, we need that ID there. So let's go to our billing page and change this plan ID to this new plan ID that we currently just made, because I want to test that this is now charging the correct amount. Okay, so let's then push this and see what's going to happen. Coolio. Wrong password. That's better. Then let's restart this server here. Where did my button go? Not that. I want to see if there's errors in the console. Okay, there is an error. Syntax error. So what happened here? I mean, I basically just replaced that's the script there. PayPal button. What is this? Oh, okay. Let's see. Where is this error? Billing line 321. Okay, so let's then have a look at the code. Look at line 321. Okay, there it is. So 321, it's this alert where you've cancelled your subscription. So this alert has an opening bracket, but it does not have a closing bracket. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, so let's just rerun this. Coolio. Let's refresh this. That's okay, it will refresh anyway. Let's restart this. There you go, there's our PayPal button. It's back. Let's use to pay with a credit card. $9 USD. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so if you open it up, you see it's a Karabo startup plan. It's only $9, and it includes the VAT. So it includes the 15% tax VAT, including the $9. Because normally when you show people $9, you want them to pay $9, and you must just price your products accordingly to include the VAT percentage. People don't like to see a price and then when they check out, it's more than what you've promised to charge them. Okay, so this is exactly what we want. I'm going to then cancel this nonetheless because I want to do the other subscription. Okay, there needs to be 2 subscription plans. You see, this one is I created 2 buttons over there because there is a conditional rendering that happens on the HTML. First of all, we check the user subscription type. And if the user subscription type is a starter subscription, we render this button. Okay, we render this button. And if it's advanced, we render something else. Okay, no, actually we do it like this. If they're on the free tier, okay, we render them container 1. We render this button. So if they're on the free tier, they should be able to move to the starter plan. So from the free tier, you can move to the starter plan. And if they are on the starter plan, then we render them to be able to move to the advanced plan. What you can also do is that you can check that if they are on the free tier, okay, they can have the option of going to the starter or going directly to the advanced. It's really up to you how you do this. Okay, but this is how I've chosen to do it because I want them to go up the stages to go to the starter plan, and then if they want to upgrade from the startup plan, they can then upgrade to the advanced plan. So we're rendering based on where they are. And because these are 2 different subscription types, we display this button number 1, container 1, and this button container 1 will display only this plan ID, which we know we've created for the startup plan. And then when we're going to render the next button, which is container 2, we will then do the next subscription type. So it will be 2 different types of PayPal buttons technically in the back end, even though the user won't really like see that's what's happening because they only see what's being rendered to them, but you render it based on what subscription they are at that time. It's getting complicated now, but stay with me. Okay, now we are going to go back to our Postman, and we're going to rerun this, and we're going to create our plan 04. We're going to create this. We're going to keep the same bearer token. We're going to go into the body. We're going to, let's push this down a little bit. We're going to go call this the advanced plan. Okay, so this is now the advanced, the Karabo advanced plan. And for the advanced plan, we're charging $29 for the AI writer. And if you go to the price that you need to be charging, instead of 9 here, you're going to be charging $29 US, and we're going to keep it the same for 48 months. Okay, the tax percent is also inclusive, and yeah, US dollars, 48 months, regular, advanced plan, $29. Just double check everything, no errors in here. And then we're gonna send this. So this product needs to be different. Okay, so let's change this product ID, this 6mm. It needs to be, let's look at our file here where we pasted everything, because this 6mm is for that starter subscription product. So for this one, we need to have this other product. Okay, that's the product that goes with our subscription. Okay, so it's an advanced plan, $29. We change the product again, dish. Okay, let's send this. Awesome. And it worked this time as well. And this should be charging $29. All right, so let's copy this again over here and paste it inside our to be deleted, so that we know we have everything that we got back. And then when we go into the billing page, what we're going to do is that we're going to have this script render again. Okay, we're going to just paste it, copy paste it over here, and the next one we'll be rendering a button container 2. All right, and everything should be exactly the same except this plan ID over here. This plan ID, we're going to use the next plan ID, this one for the $29. We're going to use that plan ID over here. So this plan ID is different from that plan ID, and this is a different container button that you are rendering, and then we should be good to go. All right, now assume somebody actually makes a payment, right? So assume somebody actually makes a payment, because what's going to happen here is, remember, you've got on approve or non cancel. So far I've been canceling my subscription, and then this alert has been happening. So if you look over there, and I get onto the PayPal and I get to this point, and then I cancel that subscription, it takes me to, you have canceled your subscription. So on cancel, whatever code that you've written in this block of code is what's going to get executed. And on approved, whatever you have in this block of code is what's going to get executed. So technically what you really want to do is that when somebody has approved their subscription, you want to take them to a page that says, oh, your subscription has been approved. We are going to update it for you, and then when the next time you log in, you'll be able to. So you want to show them something that says, hey, your subscription has been approved. And I think I built these pages already. Let me just double check here. If I go into my templates and I go into my dashboard, and I go into my landing, go into my layout, so if I go into my landing, I have a blog section, I have blog topic, home. So what you can do an alert. I think that's okay. Let's just do the alert. But we need to do something else. We need to actually update the subscription in the database. But there are two ways of doing it. Okay, and I'm gonna show you the correct way of doing it. The correct way of doing this is, once somebody has approved a payment, this is where you will be rerouted back to the on approve. And over here, you want to tell the subscriber that, hey, your subscription has been approved, or whatever, or you have made a payment, and we're going to update your subscription. But you don't want to update the database just yet, because the best way to update the database is using what we call webhooks. All right, because the PayPal system, when anything happens on your account, it's going to be sending you webhooks. And webhooks are sort of communications. They are post requests that a webhook is basically a post request that the certain service sends to a server that you give them. So you give them a server to send a post request to, and they send a post request to that endpoint, and then you listen to it. You sort of that's what we call it, a hook. We sort of you wait and you listen on that endpoint, and every time a communication comes through, you process it. So let's say you create a webhook. You're gonna create a URL. You're gonna go into the URLs. Let me see, where are we? The dashboard URLs. You're gonna go into the dashboard URLs. Okay, let me see what we've got here. Save, delete, billing, and you're gonna create a URL here that you're gonna call webhook. And most probably you don't want to call it webhook. You want to give it a unique ID. I normally do that. You want to give it a UUID, a sort of a URL that is not going to be easily guessed by people that maybe are trying to game your system. Okay, because if you just call it webhook, anybody that wants to mess around with your software will know to test the webhook and maybe send false webhooks there to either DDoS your system, or to try and send you fake payment announcements or whatever, to try and get free services or whatever from your system. So you obviously want to obscure this URL so that it's not an obvious URL to anybody to just be able to guess. Okay, and you definitely want to exclude it from your what do you call this thing that you submit to Google, your there's this your URL list that you submit to be a profile or to be listed with Google. So you want to like give it a name that's not easily guessed like that. Okay, and then once you've done that, you want to call this webhook. You can call this one webhook, that's okay. And then the name, you can have it as webhook, that's fine. All right, so once you've done that, and then you're gonna submit this webhook to PayPal. All right, and there's gonna be some sort of secret hash string that you use with PayPal, and all the payment providers do it exactly the same way. And I'm guessing this because I haven't done the PayPal yet, that it's going to be exactly the same. All right, you're gonna submit the webhook URL to PayPal, and you're gonna get some sort of secret hash between you and PayPal that the both of you know, so that every time you get a communication post request on this URL, you know that it's coming from PayPal, because people are gonna try to game your URL. Of course, once they figure out this is your webhook URL, it's just a matter of time somebody really testing your system to figure it out. Even if you've obscured it like this, at least the obvious ones won't find it, but people, if somebody really wants to find it, they can still find it, right? But you're gonna catch it on the what we call this the hash string. All right, so let's go to PayPal and look at the PayPal webhook documentation, and make sure that we test and we've got a working webhook, so that and make sure that we get that information every time a payment gets processed or gets cancelled, that we get that information being sent through to our webhook. Cool. So trying to create our webhook, we need to then create a view for this webhook. So we go into where our URLs is. We go to our view file. Let's go right at the end and just create a view for it. And let's say it takes in a request. And for now, let's just say return. We're not going to do anything. So let's say return. Let's just return a redirect for the billing page, so that it returns something. We're not going to actually use this webhook yet, but I want to show you what's important about it. We need to also make sure that this webhook only takes in a post request. So I'm going to, at the top of the page, import require post and import CSRF exempt, okay? Because we're not going to be having a CSRF token generated by our application, because every post request requires a CSRF token, and if you don't have it, you're going to have an error. But because we know this is going to be sent from outside of our application, there will not be a CSRF token. So for us not to have an error with this page, we just need to add this decorator at the top of the page, that it is exempt from CSRF. But then of course you have to take the necessary measures to make sure that you get that the person sending this request is PayPal itself. So there's a couple of things you need to do. The first one is that you need to verify that the request is coming from PayPal. Okay, then once you verify the request coming from PayPal, you need to check the type of a webhook that it is, the type of event. Okay, because webhooks get sent every time there's an event, and then you need to then process the event. Okay, so for now the only event we're really interested, we're interested in a couple of events. Okay, we're interested in event number one that we're interested in is when a subscription gets when somebody subscribes. So when a subscription is created event. This is very, very important. This is what we do right now. When somebody clicks that button, they create a subscription. We want to know if that happens. We want to know if a subscription gets cancelled. All right, because we want to be able to update our information as well if somebody cancels, if a subscription is cancelled. Because technically, once somebody creates an account with PayPal, they could just log into PayPal themselves and cancel the subscription. That's possible, and they could do it outside of your application. So you want to be informed every time someone does that, so that you can also update your information accordingly. They don't create a subscription and then cancel it later, but you continue to allow them access to your application. You also want to check if payments bounce, if payments have bounced, and maybe this depends. You could do this and check every time a payment bounces, and then you could count the number of payments that have bounced, and then obviously you're going to give them some sort of leeway, maybe 3 or 4 payments bounce. After that, then you want to cancel the subscription, okay? But you could also just not do this at all, because if the payments bounced a number of times, automatically PayPal will cancel the subscription, and then you will still get the notification from the cancel subscription thing. So you could also just leave it like that for simplicity, and then only check for when a subscription is created and when a subscription is cancelled. All right. You also want to do a check on subscriptions on a regular basis outside of the webhook, just as a backup, okay? Because it's very, very important that you don't provide your services for free. So these are the things we'll be doing when we get to this webhook yet, but we're not going to code it because we need to actually create it inside of the PayPal dashboard. So log into your PayPal developer account, okay? So, and then go and look for your applications and credentials. So at the top there, so this is where we are, all right? And you can see the sandbox and the live applications. You can go between them. We are in the sandbox right now because we are sort of testing. And then this is the Karabo application that we're testing inside of the sandbox. So just click on it, and you can see your credentials and everything. And if you go to the bottom here, there is that option to add a webhook, okay? So click on the option to add a webhook. And these are the events I'm talking about, okay? So a webhook, remember, is a post request that is sent by PayPal to your application on the URL that you provided. So this URL that we provided, for example, if our application gets and it ends up being posted on a website like Karabo, let's say we end up calling it karabo.ai, and then you're going to find the whole URL to this view that you've created there. So if you go to your URLs page, you can see the URL that you've given it. But this URL here is a sub URL inside of a sub URL account. So this URL is inside of the dashboard, and the dashboard is included inside of the other URL. So if you want to get the full URL to this, you need to actually say dashboard first and then do that, okay? You can see that by looking at your actual Karabo application. You can see it's now inside of the development server, but you can see this dashboard before billing. All right, so this is the billing page, but there's dashboard before billing because we're inside of the dashboard app, and inside of our URLs main application, which is this one over here, the main URLs, we've included all of the dashboard URLs as under dashboard. So every URL inside of the dashboard app will have dashboard in front of it. So that's how I ended up with this URL that says dashboard and dashboard and this UUID code that I've given it. So it's the same thing over there. If I go into where's my URLs again? Have I lost my URLs? There they are. Okay, so this is the code. This whole string comes after the dashboard, and so this is the URL I need to give it. But we have a bit of a problem now, as you can see. Okay, this is HTTPS. So this means that this application webhook needs to be served over a secure HTTPS, and most payment processing don't allow you to supply them with a webhook URL that is non-HTTPS, which then begs the question, how the hell are we going to test this, even if it's in a sandbox? Because of course, before I load this application and have it go live on HTTPS, I needed to have tested my webhook. So that's usually the challenge. So generally what this means is that you can't actually test your webhook and build it while you are still on a development server that is not served over HTTPS. All right, so this is going to be a challenge, but it's fine because we know we need to build this webhook. And when we build it, when we'll come back here and we'll say all events, or you can decide what events you want to subscribe to, then it doesn't send you all the webhooks. Otherwise your webhook is going to be busy, but you can still subscribe to all events and then only take action on certain events. So it's really up to you what you want. But I mean, if I look at this, for example, this catalog, compliance processes, some of these things are really not, you don't need all of these things, so I'm gonna maybe not even subscribe to all of them, but it's likely they're not gonna happen on your account anyway, so I'm more interested in billing plan activated, created, billing plan deactivated, all of these billing plans and subscriptions. Okay, I'm interested in all of these billing subscriptions: cancelled, subscription created, expired, subscription payment fail, reactivated, suspended, updated. So all of these are billing subscription and billing plans are the ones that I would be interested in. All right, catalog products, no. Compliance, no. Disputes, no. Dispute perhaps because you want to know if somebody's disputing a payment, because PayPal allows for that as well. So maybe you want to do something about these ones as well. Customer integration, product subscription updated. There's a lot of this things that you're gonna do, but since we know how to do this now, we're gonna circle back to this later. All right, so what we're gonna do is something that I do not recommend you do for now, but it's the only way for us to continue testing our system, is that we're gonna have to act upon this return. Okay, so on approve and on cancelled, we can still just show the alert, that's okay. But on approve, instead of now showing this, okay, this message, alert message, we're gonna do something here. So this is what you would have done on the webhook. Okay, we're gonna do it here. Assume that this is secure enough for you to do this, and I think for a development application, it's okay. So you can test the entire payment process, and then once you serve your application on HTTPS, you can then remove this approval from the webhook and put it inside of you can remove it from the JavaScript script and put it inside of your webhook. Okay, so let's say we would a payment will be successful. What do you need to do when a payment is successful? All right, so I'm gonna put in here to be sent to be moved to the webhook later. Okay, as a to do, so that I don't forget to do this. All right, so what would you need to do? So if you look at our models, we need to update these variables. The subscribed, we need to say, okay, this person has now subscribed. We need to update the subscription type, and then we need to update the subscription reference. And this subscription reference is obviously this data.subscription ID. So we need to create these variables. All right, so we need to say I need to remember my JavaScript coding now, because I'm so used to Python. I must remind. So what do you normally do? You say const or variable. Do you say var variable? So I'm gonna call this variable sub ID. Actually, I can just call it this. All right, var subscription ID is equals to data.subscription ID, right? And this data is this data that comes from over here. Okay, so that's all I need. So I need to get this variable. What I need to get as well is the I need to know which model to update. So if I look at my models, you'll see this is their profile. I need to update the correct profile of the correct person. So I need to know who is currently logged in right now. All right, and the person who's currently logged in is the current user. So I need to be able to get that user reference so that I can update the correct user. So let's call this the user ID, or the user ID. Okay, so how can we get the user ID? We know that inside of the HTML we have that user variable, which is what we're using over there. And then we need to get the user.profile. So we can say, and inside of the JavaScript, you can do this, by the way. You can say, do that and say user.userprofile.unique ID. All right. So you want the unique ID of the current logged in user, but it's actually the unique ID of the profile. So if you look at the profile model, it's going to give us this unique ID. So it's going to give us a unique ID that you can be able to then get that profile of the person that's currently logged in. And the person that's currently logged in is the user.profile, the current user. And remember, the profile is one-to-one relation. So you can just say user profile unique ID, and then you need to use a safe. If you are calling variables inside of JavaScript, you need to use safe, and then this should be able to actually give you the current user profile unique ID. All right, and we're gonna test this and check that this actually works. Okay, and then the other thing that you need as well is the what else do we need? I think that's all we need really. And then you can send this via an AJAX to your oh yes, you need the you would need the what we call the you would need the CSRF token. You would need the CSRF token, okay? All right. Because when you send everything via when you send any post request to your server, you need to provide the CSRF token, okay? But I'm gonna do it slightly different, okay? So I think I've got code here for this Ajax request. Let me have a look there. There it is. All right. So I'm going to copy this Ajax code, all right? And I'm gonna paste it in here. And I'm gonna say every time we have a successful action, we are gonna post to a certain URL. So we need to give it a URL. So we need to create a URL. So instead of our URLs, let me just go at the bottom here and call these Ajax URLs. All right. And then I'm gonna it's not gonna be exactly the same as that, but let me find a different. I don't even know. I can just call this a PayPal payment success. All right. And then let's call this PayPal payment success. All right. And just call it payment success over there. All right. And then create this view function inside of our views. All right. So go in here, and inside of the views, we're going to create this this request. All right. And then you need to be logged in for this to happen. So we definitely need login required over there, so that people do not send to this URL if they're not logged into our application. Okay. And then we need to do a couple of things. We need to say we could also say requires post, right? But that's not, I'm gonna leave it, and that's not important. And then we can just we know that we're always gonna be posting to this URL. So we're gonna say what are the variables we're gonna be sending through. Let's see. Okay, so we got the URL. We can actually put the correct URL in here. So this is gonna be payment success. So we can just put it inside of the billing page and say the URL that you're going to be sending to is this payment success. And there's a couple of things you're going to send. You're going to send the subscription ID. Okay. Subscription ID is going to be equals to, there it is, the subscription ID. You've created it there. Or you can even just do it like that. You don't have to like create a variable just to use it again. You could just have it like that in there. Okay, and then it's going to be a comma, and then you have the what else, the user ID. Okay, so you could do the same thing there. The user ID is equals to this. Right. I'm just trying to think here. Okay. Yeah, we need to have it inside of that so that it gets sent through as a string. No, do we need to do it like that? Yeah. Yes. So it gets sent through, so it becomes a string. Okay. And then you can delete it from there. So you have the subscription ID, the user ID, and then you have the CSRF token. Okay. And then upon success, you can do whatever you want to do there. All right. So on approve, if we get approved, this is what we want to do. Okay. But what I'm going to do here, instead of, I'm going to test this Ajax that it's actually working. Because I need to make sure, number one, I need to make sure that inside of my block JavaScript, before you can test Ajax, you need to make sure that you have imported jQuery, or that you have jQuery inside of your file, because you need jQuery to run Ajax. So let me see, this extends the dashboard.html. So if I look at the layout of dashboard.html at the bottom, I just need to make sure that I have jQuery, and then you can see the block JavaScript comes after the jQuery. So this should work. We should have jQuery in here. But there's an easy way to quickly test this because it's easy to cancel. I'm going to actually copy this Ajax request, and I'm going to put it here inside of the cancel. All right. And I put it here inside of the cancel, but of course we wouldn't have the subscription ID if we've canceled. But we should be able to have the unique ID of the profile. We should be able to have the CSRF token. And then all I can do is check that I have this, unique ID over here, the user ID. So inside of the views, what you can do here, you can say the user ID, all right, is equals to request dot post dot user ID. Okay, so let's just copy it exactly how it's written here. So request post dot user ID, and then what we can do is that we can just print the user ID. All right, and then we can return. You need to return a JSON response. Okay, so I hope I've got JSON response up here. Do I have a JSON response? Let me see, JSON response. I do not have it. Do I not have it any of my views? I do not have a JSON response in the other views. I don't have it here either. All right, so let me check for how to import Django import JSON response. Let me check if this one has it, because you have to specifically import it at the top. There you go, from Django HTTP import JSON response. So I'm gonna just copy that at the top there. All right, and then you just sort of create a JSON and send that back. Okay, so at the bottom here, I'm gonna say return a JSON response, and this JSON response can be I don't know, it can be the result, it can be, you can call this result, and then user ID or something like that. Yeah, result user ID. So that you want to return this user ID over here, and then inside of the billing there, you can just say the data is, you can then say, do something like alert. You can do something like alert. Your user ID is, and then you can put it in here. How do you do this in JSON? You have to remember how to do this in JavaScript, because I think you use those backslashes, these backslashes, and then you can like and then you can put in here data dot what is it, result, or you can just, I don't think this is the way. Let us just alert data dot result. Right, let's see, data dot result. So the data is this whole object, and then we want the result part of the data. Then we should get that alert. Okay, and we're gonna test that. All right, so I've pushed all the changes to the server already. I've restarted the page, and then I'm gonna click this and cancel the subscription, which then it should pop me the the user ID. Okay, so if I cancel the payment, it says you have canceled your payment, whatever it is, and then it prints that, it alerts that number. Okay, and I actually already tested it. even on the server it prints it. Okay, so we know that now our jQuery works because we're printing this from the server side, but also from the front end side, we are alerting this. Okay, so the first alert that goes off is this one: you have canceled your subscription. And then after the success of this Ajax request, this second alert, which is just the data.result, and that data.result is this user ID. Okay, so we know this works. All right, so this is not what we want to send back. All right, we'll tell you what we're going to send back in the future. All right, so let's see what we would need to do. Okay, so now you've got the user ID. You should be able to say the profile that we're looking for is equals to profile dot objects. So let me see, profile dot objects, have we called this before? Let me just search for this. Profile.objects. I just want to see if we've called profile.objects before. All right, are we importing our profile in here? So this is the dashboard. Okay, and the model, the profile model is in the dashboard. So there it is. So if we go here and we say from models import everything, profile should also be imported. Okay, so we can call profile.objects.get unique ID is equals to this user ID. So we can even do that and say the profile of the get the profile with the unique ID is equals to request post user unique ID. So this is the profile that we're looking for. So if we look at our models, now that we've done the profile, we need to then say the subscribed amount. Okay, so profile.subscribed, okay, profile.subscribed is equals to true. Okay, we need to now say that that person is now subscribed. We need to say profile.subscription type is now equals to starter. All right, but how will we know? Type is equals to starter. How will we know that the subscription type is starter? Because if you think about it, inside of the billing here, we are going to be sending this to payment success, and we're going to be sending this to payment success. So these are the same, this is the same URL. So what we could do is that we could have payment success a starter. We could call this payment success starter and then have a different URL for payment success starter. And when we do the advanced, we could have a different URL for that and create two different view functions and two different URLs, because we need to know which payment was made. Was it the starter one or was it the advanced one? Because this one would also go to the same URL, so maybe we need to like call it something else. Okay, so let me call this payment success a starter. So inside of my URLs, I'm going to call this payment success a starter, and we're going to call this payment success a starter over there as well. And then this one is going to be starter. And then if I copy that there, inside of the views, this is going to be payment success starter. And then when we do the other one, we'll know that that's advanced. Okay, so then the subscription type here will always be starter. You could have done it differently, and inside of the billing here, you could add an extra variable, so you could add an extra variable here that you could call type. Okay, you could say type, and then you could call the type to be starter. All right, and then the other type could be something else, and then you could use the same URL. Maybe let's do that. That will probably be easier instead of having two different view functions. Okay, so we're going back to what we had before. So let's just call this payment success, and then inside of the URLs, let's just take everything back to payment success, so that we only have one URL and one view function. Okay, and then it's not starter, and then if we go back to billing, it's also just payment success, not starter. Okay, so this is payment success, and inside of the URLs, where are my URLs now? It's just payment success, payment success, payment success, and this is payment success. So inside of the views, this remains payment success. And then we need to now test for starter. So what we're going to do is that we're going to say if, okay, request.post.type. Okay, so we're going to say if request.post dot, inside of the billing we called this a type. Okay, so if the type is equals to starter, so we're gonna say this one, if the type is equals to starter. Then we know that we are doing the starter. We're doing this. You see? And then we will know that this was the button that was clicked, the starter button. Okay, and then we have the CSRF token, we have the user ID. We also need to send through the subscription ID. Okay, so actually we shouldn't send it over here, we should send it over there. All right, and then this one we can actually just delete it, because I think we're just testing this Ajax by canceling, because you don't want to make a real payment and test it on a real payment. So we know the Ajax works. Okay, you have canceled your, so no subscription really, your PayPal payment. Okay, please try again, something like that. Okay, so so now we know that this is gonna happen on approve, okay, not on cancel. We just put it here on cancel because we wanted to test it, because cancel was easy to check, you know, to that the you know, the what you call it, the jQuery works. All right, so we can say starter. We know with the user ID works as well. What we want also is this subscription ID. All right, so we need to then this is subscription type, and I think the next one is a profile dot it's the profile dot subscription reference. Okay, subscription reference. Okay, so this is request dot post, okay, dot that subscription ID. So I just want to copy this properly, subscription reference, because I don't, oh, there's a misspelling here, that's why it doesn't sort of, you know, so I have to copy it exactly. I have a typo. I'm going to copy the typo through because that's what it's called in the model. Otherwise we'll have a problem. So subscription reference is equals to request.post.that. And then once we've done that, we can then say the profile.save. All right. And then we can, I think the JSON response we're going to return here, we're just going to return, it doesn't matter what we return. Actually, we're not going to do anything with what we're returning here. So let's just return, I don't know, result, success, doesn't matter what we return here. All right, so we're going to say profile.save, and this is the profile was saved. Okay, but what you could also do is that you could return this response over here, okay, so that you know that this ran successfully. So you could return the result success over there, and then you could have else, you could have elif. Okay, there's going to be an elif, the request type. So the next request type is going to be advanced. Okay, the next request type is advanced, and everything is the same except the subscription type is going to be advanced over there. So if you go to billing there, and we're going to copy this whole thing, this whole Ajax, all right, on approve, this whole Ajax on approve, and copy it over there. All right, because on approve it's going to be the same thing, paste it in there. So on approve, we do an Ajax call, we post the same URL now, but the subscription type here is advanced. Okay, add advanced, and then we get the user ID, we get the middleware token. Okay, you have canceled not your subscription. Let's just say you have canceled your PayPal payment. Please try again. So we just copy that over there so that it's exactly the same. Okay, and this is button number 2. All right. So upon success, we're going to get the data sent back to us. Okay, so this data that gets sent, what we need to do is that we need to then test for this data. Okay, so we need to say, I think it works like this as well, right? On JavaScript, I'm trying to remember. So I'm going to say if data dot result is equals to success. That's how it works, right? But I think you need to put it inside of brackets like that, and then you put you open you know, the curly braces like that, and then you do something inside of this block of curly braces. So if the data is equal to success, you can say alert alert you have successfully subscribed to Karabo you know, starter plan, something like that. And then you probably want to reroute them to a different window, or you want to restart the window, okay, so that it can refresh the new window, because currently the information is, you know, when you do a jQuery, it doesn't refresh the window, it works in the background. But that is the beauty of jQuery. All right, so at this point you either want to refresh or send them to the dashboard or send them somewhere else, okay. And I think I've got code here for refreshing a window. Do I not? Yeah, there you go. Window location href, right? So you can alert that, and then you can say window location href. You don't even have to do the alert. You could just, let's get rid of the alert. Href, and then you can just, like, you use like a, you know, like you could even do a URL for. I'm sure you can. Let me test this and make it say, call this a URL for billing. You could send the person back to the billing page, which what this will do, it will refresh this page. Okay, when it refreshes this page, the person will now see that they have an active subscription running. Okay, so let's see the Karabo billing information, So we need to be able to show the person that they've got an active subscription running. So what does a billing page show? When you are currently on the starter tier, you can cancel your upgrade anytime, no strings attached. Upgrade to the advanced tier for unlimited words per month. Okay, so this is what they'll see now, that their subscription is going to be starter. So we should see when we refresh the page, suddenly you should see that the person is in the starter tier. Okay, I think that's it. Hey, that's that should be it over here. And that is if the result is equal to success. I think you can have an elif here, else if, I don't know, I can't remember my JavaScript. I don't do a lot of JavaScript coding, but what I want to do is to say, if the result is equal to success, you do that. Okay, I'm sure if I did this, it will still work. Okay, so if the result is not success, let's say if the result is equals to which I'm going to call fail. I'm going to send a fail in case it's not successful. All right, if it's equals to a fail, we're going to then this is when we're going to alert and say something went wrong or something like that. All right, okay, so I think you need to do an else if, but I can't remember how to do else if in JavaScript. So I'm going to just assume that if this block doesn't run, it will test the next if block, and then just, you know, alert the person that something went wrong if there's a fail. And then over here inside of the views, elif and then else we can just send through the fail. Okay, so else, which means if it doesn't go through any of these blocks, we say fail. Right? What we can also do here is that we can put this inside of a try in case something is wrong with what gets sent in here, you know, so we don't get an error. So we know that this worked without an error, like it didn't throw an error. So we can put this inside of a try except right. So we can try this, and then if there was an exception running this piece of code, then you would then return the fail. Okay, then if there was an exception there, you return the fail, and then you can do the same here. You can do the try except. So you can try that, and if something goes wrong, you return fail. So suddenly, if you do return success, we know for sure that the code ran, and the code ran without any incident, and everything worked the way it should work, and the profile was saved, and the information has been updated inside of the profile, and that the person has updated their payment, and they've paid, and they are subscribed for as long as they are subscribed for. Okay, so I'm going to go and save this, and so my PayPal payment success should be fine. And then something went wrong, it's going to do that. So this data, I'm going to copy the same thing over here, because it's exactly the same thing that's going to happen this side. All right, if the data is successful, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do something else. All right, so for container 2 and for container 1. Okay, so now we are ready to test our PayPal payment processing. And for that, we're going to need a fake credit card, and you can get that as well inside of PayPal. Okay, so inside of PayPal, if you go into your dashboard, so if you log into the developerpaypal.com, you go to my apps.credentials. This is where we started off, where we created our application. If you remember that, my app credentials, you need to go into mock. Okay, and there's a credit card generator over there. All right, and you need to log in here to check this. It logged me out. Yeah, nowadays you gotta prove you're a human being, that you're not a robot every time. The test for a robot is like you can click and prove that you're a human being. Okay, so let's go to the credit card generator. And then on the credit card generator over here, you can create a new credit card. I think I've got a fake credit card I created in the past, but let's create a new one. Okay, I want a MasterCard, and I want a MasterCard in South Africa. Let me see if they've got one. A MasterCard in South Africa. Let's generate the card. Okay, so there's some card details over here. So I'm going to just write them down so that I have them. It's 5110. Okay, I don't have to write them down because I can just use this when I'm making the payment. All right, so I'll just come back here and use this information. So let me see that my server is running. Okay, I have made all these changes. Let's save all of this in here. Okay, we're ready to do a subscription. Okay, so I'm going to push the changes. All right. Okay, so that's good. And then let's run our server here. Our server's running. So let's go back to our Karabo website. So somebody needs to, they're on the free tier. They were on the dashboard, they were generating blogs, and they realized, oops, you've written one blog, 566 words. Your count will reset on the 12th of July, 2022. So this date has already passed. Or we hard coded this date. Oh, I remember. Okay, we hard coded this date. We're gonna have to now, check the next subscription date, programmatically, and be able to get the next day that the subscription renews, because that's when this date will be. Okay, and then somebody decides, okay, fine, I want to subscribe to your thingy. They go to the billing, they see the PayPal, they click the button. It takes them here. They decide to pay with a credit card, not their PayPal account. And when they decide to pay with their credit card, it's going to ask for credit card information over there. they're in South Africa, so they want a card number. So we're gonna go back here and check our credit card information. So let me just copy that 7/20/24, and that's CVV 346. Okay, so this is a fake credit card. Okay, it's a fake credit card that is mock generated on the PayPal developer. Okay, it's not a real credit card. It won't actually make real payments on a proper website. Okay, so I'm gonna put in that number, and it reads it as a MasterCard. It expires I think it's 07/24 24 07/20/24, and then the 3 digits was 346. All right, and you can enter any name because it's a mock credit card. Okay, so let's enter Skolo Online. Let's enter any address again because it is a fake credit card. Let's say 1234 Church Street. There's a Church Street in every town. Suburb, Sandton, Johannesburg, 2191, Gauteng. Ship to my billing address. Maybe I'm not going to enter my mobile. The security you want protection to user. No, I don't want an account now. And then I'm going to agree and subscribe. So I need to enter a phone number. Okay. 083 I need to enter an email address. All right. No, I don't want an account. I confirm that I have read all of the information. I agree and subscribe. There you go. It worked perfectly. So it brought me back here. You saw for a little bit, it flickered a little bit because it actually brought me back, and then immediately this code ran, which was to refresh the page, and it refreshed the page, and suddenly you see this in blue. I am now currently on the starter tier, so I'm no longer on the original free tier, because the free tier was a different color, if you remember exactly. It looks the same, but it's not. When I was on the free tier, I was on alert warning. I'm now on alert info, okay? And the last alert is alert success. So if I do subscribe to the next tier, I'll see alert success. But I'm perfectly happy to be on the starter tier. What you can do is that you can also double check this to make sure, if you don't trust that it all went well. I would need to check the user with my email address and check that their subscription is active. Okay, so I can do that in the admin. All right, so I can stop this. All right, and you need to get used to also being able to sort of like query the admin directly. Okay, so you can like see certain information, especially when you're coding and you're troubleshooting and you're debugging. It's a very useful tool to be able to like log into the shell and access the database directly from the shell and see certain things. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to check the database that my subscription actually did update. Okay, I mean, I can see it updated here, but I just want to see it. All right, so I'm going to go to I'm going to say Python manage.py shell. This logs me into the shell of my application, and then once I've done this, I'm gonna call a user. I'm gonna say let me see how to call a user from contrib models. I want to get this user class. All right, and then I want to get a user with my email address. Okay, dot get email is equals to, I think I used this email at gmail.com. So I want to get the user of this email, and this user is that's me. Then I want to get the profile is equals to user.profile. Remember, you can get that. And then now I want to test these things that it has saved properly. Okay, so profile.subscribe should say true. All right, it is true, so I am subscribed. Our profile or subscription type is obviously a starter. It should say starter. That's good. And then profile or subscription reference. This is a subscription reference from PayPal that we sent via request.post subscription ID. All right. We don't know what it is, but it's stored in the database. There it is. Okay, that is a subscription type. So now when we go back to the API, we should be able to call subscription and call the subscription type and have a look at it and see all the information you need about the subscription type. And this information is now stored in the database, which means you can like constantly in the background always check that the subscriptions are active, so that you know whether somebody is still subscribed or not. And you can use the subscription reference to query the subscription every time with PayPal. Okay. So if I go to, let me look at the subscription, subscriptions. Okay, I want to see subscription. I want to see get a subscription, not create a plan. Where were we? Integrate. This is integrating payment plans and da. Okay, this one we should have read earlier on. I'm going to link this in our documentation because when I get here, I need to double check. Oh, it's just showing the type of webhooks. Okay, I don't think we need this for now. I want to see the subscription dash. Okay, billing to the application management page in the Sandbox business account. Okay, so let's open this so we can check this inside of the okay. No. Okay, so this is sandboxpaypal.com. It's not developerpaypal.com. Okay, so I need to log into the Sandbox PayPal. But why is it different to the... Why is my login not working? Sandbox Connect. Yeah, because I want to be able to go in here and have a look at this because I've just created the subscription. I should be able to see it in the dashboard. But why can't I log in? Yeah, this has logged me in, but it's developer PayPal, not Sandbox PayPal. But I am on the developer PayPal and I want to see my subscriptions and I can't. Okay, unless I must look at the Sandbox accounts over there. I think I need to log in with the Sandbox account. Test account. All right, this is going to waste my time, so we'll do that later. Let's just look at how to call a subscription using the API. Because if we can't log in and look at it in the dashboard, we should still be able to do it with the API. All right, so integrate. Why don't they have subscriptions? Let's see, billing cycles, product ID, quantity supported. I don't want to update a plan, activate a plan, deactivate a plan, update pricing, subscription. There it is. So this is subscription post over here. This is that post that we did. All right, and then quantity response. Okay, what I want to do is update, not update. Yeah, there you go. So this is what I need to do. Okay, shows details of a subscription using a subscription ID. So it's V1 billing subscription, and then you put in the subscription ID there. All right, and then you just enter and your bearer access token. So let's use this one for it. So it's a post. Is it a post or a get? Let's see. It's a get. It's a get request, and the URL is going to be okay. So instead of billing plans, it's billing subscription. So it's version 1. It's version 1 billing and subscription ID. All right. And then we need to go into authorization or into headers, and we need authorization, and then we need to say bearer. So let's see how we did it over here. Headers, authorization, this header here, bearer. Let's just copy the whole thing and paste it in there. Right, and then the subscription ID that we want to look for is this one. Right, so let's paste that in here. That is the subscription ID. It's a get request, so there's no body. Authorization headers, get request to that. Let's see. There you go. So I'm going to copy that. You can see over there. Status is active. That's the ID. That's the plan ID. Okay, that plan ID should match the plan ID that I gave it, which is the same plan ID that we have in here. So this plan ID should be this one. Should be this plan ID, the 0WLQ at the end. Okay, the 0WLQ at the end. That's good. This is when the subscription starts. Okay, the 2020, the 17th of July at exactly this time. Currency code is US dollar value. So right now they didn't charge them anything. Value 0. They did not charge them, and they should have charged them $9. So let's see. Email address, that's the email address the user entered, and now they've got their payer ID, which means they have an account with PayPal for their ID. So next time you can always use this payer ID to identify this person. They've got their name and their surname, and they entered an address. Okay, they've got their billing information, currency code and 0. Cycle executions, tenure is regular, sequence is 1. Remaining 47, pricing scheme version 1, cycles 48. The last payment that was made was $9. It was made on this time. Next billing time will be this one. Final payment time will be this one. Okay, so the 2022-8/17 is the next time you're going to bill this person. So this is a date now you can use to calculate or to find the time. Like, remember when we said here on our dashboard we are going to update this. Okay, I can't go there now because my server is not running, but remember when we said we would update that date that shows on the dashboard where your subscription is going to renew. You can even display that date to the user here so that the user is aware of when their subscription is going to renew, right? So that's a very important date there. Where are we? So that's a very important date, and when it was created, plan over region, no, false, linked, and then you got, so these are all the links. If you want to cancel the subscription, you can just send a post request to them. All right, if you want to patch it, if you want to edit the subscription, if you want to get the subscription, is what we did right now. All right, and then if you want to suspend, capture, or do anything to the subscription. Okay, so this is great, and you can get all of this information just with that a subscription ID, which we've saved in the user. Let me put this here. So this subscription ID is very, very important. This is why immediately I made sure that I saved this information in the database. So you can actually call this every time. And so I'm going to save the code for making this post request. I need to get the URL for this. So I'm going to put a function inside of my functions. So where are all my functions? So this is the dashboard functions. So I'm going to call this function get subscription details. Okay. Def get subscription details. And then maybe the only thing that you need to enter in here is the profile of the person. All right, and then it should be able to like get you important information that we want. So let's start with the URL is equals to this URL. Actually this is now not, this needs to come from the profile, so we need to get sub ID is equals to the profile dot, the sub ID is equals to the profile dot subscription reference. Okay, so the profile dot subscription reference, the profile that comes in there, and then the sub ID is what goes into the URL. Okay, so in here, and this is what goes in here. All right, so we say format, we put the sub ID in there, and then you do a post request. So remember how to do a post request with requests. You need to install requests in here. Import requests, and this requests is different from a request, from the request that comes in the views. So this request is not the same as this requests. Requests is the request Python library, which you need to also install before you can use. All right, so I'm going to clear this, and then I'm going to say pip install requests, and make sure you are in the virtual environment when you do this. And then it's gonna go and install requests. You see, it's a different library, and then you can do requests.post. All right, so you can then say let me just check my request code. Let me just have a look at this. Pip install requests, and look at the documentation for requests. There you go. So you can do requests.get, you can do requests.post. Okay, so let's see where's requests.post. It works exactly the same. So you post the URL. Actually, we need a get, by the way. Hey, request.headers, request.headings, request.json, request. So where is the request to post? Anyway, we're not posting, we are getting, my mind is all over the place. Okay, so R is going to be requests get. We need to do a get request on this URL. Okay, but we need to have headers. All right, headers is equals to headers. We need headers here. All right, so our headers are, that's where we're going to enter that authorization, remember. So we need to say headers is equals to, it's a JSON object, and then so headers authorization, let me see how, I need to just get that spelling right. Okay, headers authorization, headers, let's say headers is equals to an object, and then headers authorization is equals to this authorization here. All right, this bearer, this whole bearer thing. Okay, you're gonna paste it in there like that. Okay, but then again, you don't want to hard code. It's things like your access keys directly into your coding. It's very, very bad practice. So what you'd rather do is that you actually want to save this somewhere in your settings file, because your settings file, you normally have to include it in your get ignore file, because it shouldn't be pushed and be rendered and be updated with your git every time with like the rest of your files, because you need to keep it separately, because you keep all of your sort of important private keys and secret information, including your access for your application and all of that. You put that in your settings file. So your setting files must never be included inside of your git. You must always include settings.py in git ignore. All right, so your secret key, for example, this is the most important part of your application. If somebody cracks your secret key, somebody can crack your entire application. They can override everything that you do, and everything, it will be insecure. So I'm just going to enter like a random secret key here, which it will log me out once I do that, because the session depends on all of this, but that's fine, I can log in again. But this is very important. Always change the secret key and make it as long as possible and impossible to guess. Okay, Then once you've done that, inside here, you can have something that you can call a variable, or create a new variable that you could call PayPal secret. Okay, and then we're gonna paste that in here, PayPal secret. Okay, and then you just need to make sure that you then import this into your settings.py file. So over here, this is gonna now be settings dot a PayPal secret. Then make sure that you have imported settings at the top there. From Django config, import settings, and then whatever you call that variable in here, PayPal secret, you can then in the function file say PayPal secret, and then suddenly you've got your header authorization. Okay, so you've got your headers authorization is equals to that, and then you have the request to .get the URL, and the headers is the headers. So what else is there? Encoding r.text is the response. Headers, content type, you can do that as well if you want to do the content type, but I don't always do that. I think it always just assumes JSON, and if it's something else, you must then put it in there. And then the response here is going to be r.text. All right, so r.text is equals to this answer that you're going to get here. All of this is going to be in r.text. Okay, so you can actually check for status, to make sure that everything ran correctly. So you could say if status okay, in r.text. Okay, so this r.text, if status is in r.text, you can say print r.text. Okay, so I just want to test that this function works fine. All right, that I got this properly, because I've ran this now inside of my Postman, but I need to now test it inside of my inside of these functions, the way I have renamed everything in there: subscription ID, profile, PayPal secret. Let me just make sure that's gonna run well. So I'm gonna push these changes, and I'm gonna just run this function manually and see if it prints r.text for me. Okay, so and okay, so that's good. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to just run this in the shell. I'm going to run this in the shell, and the shell is obviously is within the context of your Django application, your Django application. So if you go in here, for example, and you say import settings, in here it's importing the settings of your Django application. So if I say settings, for example, .PayPal secret, I should be able to see my PayPal secret, you see. All right, so what I want to import here is this function, and this function, get subscription details, is sitting inside of dashboard.functions. Okay, from dashboard functions, import that, get subscription details. Good. Then let's import the user as well. Let's import the user. We're going to use the same user because there's really only one user in the application. So we're going to say the user is equals to user objects. Let's get the user with the email that is equals to Matsiris, and then the profile of this user is user.profile. All right, so then I want to run this get subscription details function with this profile, because if you recall, the get subscription function inside of this one, inside of the functions there, it takes in the profile. And that's where I get the subscription reference that I put inside of the URL, that then I do all of this. And let's hope that this runs well. There you go. So it runs perfectly the way I expected it to run. So I am a-okay. My function is been built properly. So now I can go in here and I can get all the things that I want to get from here. Okay. So remember, what did we say we want? We want to say we want the status to be active. Okay. If status is in r.text, all right, that's good. All right. So for now, let's say what we want. If status is active, okay. Okay. So status is equals to r.text status. All right, so that's the status, r.text status. And then if status is active, we are good. Okay, if status is active, so we are good. All right, else Houston, we've got a problem. Okay, we do not have lift off. Okay, so this is a good way of always testing that the subscription is active, because like I said, this is PayPal. So even if I choose to pay with my PayPal account, it's PayPal. I can technically log into my PayPal account and cancel that subscription. Right? I can log into my PayPal account, I can change my credit card, I can do all sorts of things. All right. And I can do that outside of your application. So every time you within your application run this function, you need to always check that the subscription is still active, because I could have canceled it outside of the application. So if this is not active, instead of even printing all of this, all I would do actually is I would just reverse everything I did here. All right. So you can just reverse all of this, and then you can say, okay, fine, you're not active. Somehow you managed to deactivate your subscription or something. So the subscribed is false. The subscription type goes back to free. I think it's free, right? It goes back to free, and the subscription reference is none. Okay, or just an empty string. Okay. Because they would have to resubscribe, or actually we just leave the same reference, we don't change it. So it's false, you have not subscribed, your subscription type is free, and we save it. If for some reason you tested this and it was not active, then if it's active, what we want to do is we want to get the date. Okay, the next date. All right, so let's pause this for the next date. Let's see what the next date is. So we need to get the status. Okay, dot subscriber. I want to see this subscriber. There's billing info. Okay, so if we get billing info, so if we get subscription, if we get r.text, then we get billing info. So this is the first object in there, and then this is the next one. Cycle executions is a list. That's the last payment. Okay, I want to get the next billing time is this one. We can get the next billing time, which is the next date, the 17th of that. So we can do that, billing info, next billing time, and this is going to give you this date. All right, so we only want the date, so we can actually just like split by the t and get the first. So we can split this, split by the t, where the T is. So split this whole thing where the T is, and then take the first part of the split, which will give us a date. Okay, take the first part of the split. So the next date is this one. Okay, what else we want? No, that's it. So this is very important. So maybe we want to run this all the time. So we actually want to return this. Okay, this is what we want to return on this function. Return the next date. All right, and over here else we're just going to return none, even if it's just a text none. And this is else, so there's also an else over here. Return none. Okay, I've written the function, but I'm not going to be able to test it, and I'm not sure if it's 100% correct, but this is where Python development comes in, guys. It's sometimes you just have to think about what you're trying to create, Google it, check it out. So this is what I've written, and I will have a look at it after this, the course. After I've stopped the recording and double check if it's correct or wrong, and let me know in the comments below, what you think about this. So what I'm doing really here is I'm trying to find when is the next date that I'm going to be resetting these subscriptions based on the date today. All right. And the next day that I'm going to be resetting the subscription should be a month from when your subscription was created. All right. Should be on the date your subscription was created. And if that date has already passed, then it's that day next month. If the date has not passed yet, it's that date this month. So basically, that's what I've written here. Okay, I've used relative data at the top, relative delta. And I've done some date time now and some month calculations. And it's a long thing, and I'm going to let you do this as your homework. Okay, you're going to look at what I've done here, but you can do it as your homework because that's not really an important part of what we are teaching here today. What's important about what we're teaching here today is that this function that I've created here needs to return the next subscription date from the subscription object that you're going to get from PayPal. So you should be able to do a URL GET request on your subscription ID and then get that subscription date and return that so that the user can check that date and know when the next time they need to be paying their subscription again. All right. And if they're not paying their subscription, then you do this calculation based on the last time you calculated what the next date should be. And you can figure out how best to do that. So I just remembered one thing. You need to import JSON because what gets returned actually, even though on inside of, because that's one of the things that Postman can be deceiving upon. Okay, so inside of Postman you will see your response already in a JSON object like this, because Postman does all of this for you in the background. But what actually gets returned is a string. Okay, it's a string data that you need to pass using JSON into a JSON object. So over here at the top, you need to import JSON, and then inside of your response text, when you look at the response.text, you need to JSON load that string, because it's basically one long string. You need to JSON load it, and then it becomes a JSON object. Only then can you then status, response status, and do all of these things, because I was getting a bit of an error, and that was the problem. Okay, because what gets returned is actually just one long string, and you need to JSON load it first into the response. So once you've done that, then you can get the next date and you can return the next date. Okay, so I've actually run this already. I've tested it, and inside of your views, all right, so if you go to the very top over here, inside of your views, all right, inside of the home view, there was a part where we were showing the count reset date. There was a string date here. This was the date that we had hard coded as the 12th of June 2022, if you remember this. And I had that I'm going to replace this later on. Okay, so go and remove that 12th of June 2022 and replace it with this function, get subscription date. This function, get subscription date, is the same function we just wrote now, and it takes in the profile. okay, and then it checks based on that person's profile. If that person's profile has we just double check a sub ID is equals to that. In fact, what we need to do here is that we need to before we even do this, before we even do the request here, because this is going to throw an error if the person does not have a subscription ID, what we need to do is to check that this subscription ID is not none. Okay, so we need to actually say all of this needs to be if sub ID. All right, so all of this needs to be inside of sub ID if it's there. All right, so I'm gonna where are we? So all of this needs to be inside of if there is a subscription ID, if it's not null. Okay, and then in fact we need to do that. We need to say if else. All right, and then even inside of this if, I would love to just, you know, it might not be none, but it might be like an empty string. So maybe put this inside of a try except as well. All right, so if there's an exception, so that, you know, you catch these things. So if there's an exception, we're just gonna return this profile, everything. So all of this, we're gonna rerun this. If there's an exception, it just returns whatever the date, you know, your subscription is false, the type is free, and it returns whatever the date from today, whatever it is. And same here. Okay, so there's a couple of loops in here that you need, but you need to check that the subscription ID is there. Otherwise, if you don't put this inside of a try, if this subscription ID is false, this request will throw an error, and then it will send your app into an error 500, which you don't want. You want to catch this and return something else if there's an error in that function. Okay, so once we've done that, we then you know, we run it, and then we get, like in our specific case, I've actually run it already, and this 2022/8/17 is the date that gets returned. I mean, we can, like, I can save this for you and you can see. So you can see inside of the views there, I've replaced this count reset with the get next subscription date. It's that function, and it turns in the request to user profile. All right, this function over here, you can also edit inside of the count reset. You can put it inside of the where is this the billing page. Where's the billing page? This one over here. All right, so I can actually even say next billing date. Next billing date. All right, so we can put it in here, and then it will show the next billing date for the user, and then you can, like, show it inside of your billing function. So over here you can say, okay, you're currently on the starter tier, you cancel your subscription anytime, and then over here you can then, like, say next billing date is equals to that next billing date. You can even, like, make it a strong maybe so that it stands out. You can put it inside of strong over there, and then you can put it also when someone has this other one, which is alert success, it will show them their next billing date. And this is only if their subscription is true, then it shows, we know that the date that gets returned there will be the next billing date. Okay, so that's cool. All right, show next billing date. Coolio. So I think now I'm pretty happy now. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh the home page, and you'll see that date remains the same as the 22nd, because that's the date that is gonna show there. And if we go into our billing profile, we will see the billing information, and we can see the next billing date is the 22/07. Okay, you're currently on the starter tier. So maybe we should say something here, you know, like, why is this button there? You know, because you're in the starter tier. So maybe what we should do over there, before we show the button, especially here, because now you'll be showing the button alert success. No, over here, the next billing date over here, before you show this button here, maybe what you might want to have is like an H5 that say or You can upgrade now to advanced and get unlimited characters, or whatever, words, or whatever you want to call it, so that they know why this button is there. You can even like put a BR and HR separator there, so that they can see, okay, we are telling you you're currently in the starter tier and your next billing date is this much. Or you can upgrade now and get unlimited characters, and then they see the button, so maybe you can put a bit of a break over here, and they know that, okay, what this means is that I have characters. You can even show the characters they've got right now. So let's see, inside of the views, how did we calculate the characters? Let's see. I think this is saved inside of the profile. Hey, so the characters that they currently have used. So inside of the model, the profile model, we have this saved in here. Monthly count. Yeah, we've got it in here. Because remember, now we update this monthly count every time they call the function. So this monthly count gets updated every time. Okay. So what we can do inside of the billing page, we can just say your next billing date is this much. So actually, let's have it in here. Or should we have it outside of this div alert? Should we put it inside of the alert? Yeah, let's put it inside of the alert. So after the next billing date over there, let's put the request. No, the user dot profile dot okay, so you can say in here the words used this month. Okay, word used this month, and then you can have again strong in here, and then you can say the words, the limit is how much. If you're on the starter tier, your limit is, if you're in the starter tier, your limit is not, this is not what I want. If you're in the starter tier, your limit is, we said maximum limit is what? 40,000 words. Okay, 40,000 words. So 40,000 words. Okay, monthly limit. So they can see the words they've used, they see their monthly limit, and then you say, oh, you can advance to get unlimited characters or whatever. Okay, so let's see what this one looks like now. All right, cool. So let's refresh this and go into billing and refresh this page, and you can see now that looks much better. Okay, you are now currently on the starter tier. You can cancel your subscription anytime. Your next billing date is the 17th of August, exactly 1 month from today when we restarted this. You have used 560 words this month. Your monthly limit is 40,000 words. Okay, so 40,000 words. Okay, so what we can do is that we can even go into the dashboard. We can even go, let's go generate a blog. Okay, enter the blog idea, running marathons. Blog audience is beginners. Keywords, marathons. Okay, let's generate some blog topic ideas here. So now as you generate blog topic ideas, you should be counting. So that 566 are expected to count up. Okay, so I'm gonna use how to properly fuel your body, what to expect during your first marathon. Let me use that. What to expect during my first marathon. Okay, let me use that word, and what to eat before this marathon, and what to pack for race day. I'm just gonna use 3 sections. Okay, there's an error here. So where is this one? Dashboard views.py. line 176. So how did this error views.py line 176. All right, so blog is equals to blog. Okay, why do we not have the blog yet? Okay. Because we have not created it, because we had this ahead of this and we moved it under, because we didn't, because this was recreating the blog more than once, remember. So I think we need to return it. We need to return this where it was. We need to return this where it was. Over here. This is before post. Now I can't remember. Was this before the post or after the post? No, it was before the post, because we checked the blog idea in the key and keywords in the request session and the audience, and then we create a new blog object, and then that's the blog that we do this. So now what we need to do here is, when we get back here, we need to not just create the blog every time. We need to check that this blog has not been created already. Okay, so blog idea, blog topic, and where is this blog topic? This blog topic will be the same topic there. All right, so we need to say we need to check if blog dot objects dot filter, if we can filter a blog with this blog topic. No, with the title. Actually, let's just copy it as it is. Title is equal to blog topic. If blog objects filter, if a blog with this title exists, okay, so we're gonna say if this exists, right? If this exists, we're gonna just get that blog, okay, is equals to blog dot objects dot get. So this will also help us not to have multiple blogs with the same topic, because we're going to have issues, right? And then if that blog exists, then we get that. All right, and then otherwise, if it does not exist, then we create it. But either way, we have a blog coming out of there, and we have blog sections. So when we come here, if we go through this again, it won't recreate the blog. If that blog already exists, okay, it will check that that blog does not already exist. Okay, cool. Creating blog twice. So where are we now? Okay, we are here. So we are going to refresh the page. What's the error now? Local variable blog reference before assignment. Okay, let's go back. All right, let's generate the blog here. Because we need to refresh. I think it's working now. If it's taking this long, should be working, because AI takes a while. To run. There you go. I've got my blog, what to expect during your first marathon, how to train for your first marathon, what to eat before a marathon, what to pack for race day. And you've got your blog, right? So I want to go check my dashboard. And I should see now I've got 1,700 words I've used. I've got 2 blogs. And these are my 2 blogs there. This one has got 566 words. This one has got 506. This is the one I just wrote now, the running marathons, the CRM software. And I only have 1 saved blog. So the error we had before is gone away, because I used to have a blog here and it was also saved because it was saving it more than once, okay? So I've got this one that I've saved. And if I go now to my billing page, I can now actually process the payment. I can see my monthly limit. I can see how many words I've got. If I wrote another blog, these words gets incremented every time I write a blog. When they reach 40,000, it will not allow me to actually write any more blogs. I've already built this function into the functions for writing the blog. You'll see it checks if for the words before, if it's below the maxi limit, it doesn't allow me. So this check allowance happens every time. I wrote this already a while back, but I think it's there inside of the views. You see? So it checks for allowance before you can continue. So the point is, I think we pretty much done with our billing, hey? So we've got our dashboard. We are able to display to the user what they're currently doing. They can see the blogs they are writing. They can see the words they are using. They can save blogs. They can go back to the blogs they've written. They can go into their billing page and they can see how much billing they've got. They can upgrade their subscription over here and it will go to the higher subscription. You are keeping track of their subscription. So I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? What you want to do now is, you see this function over here that we wrote inside of our functions. This one is a very important function. This get next subscription date. You can rewrite this function for your profile to double check that the subscriptions are active. And what you can do is that you can write a generic function. You can say def check subscriptions, okay? And then this can just be like, it doesn't take anything because you're going to get all your profiles, okay? You're going to get all your profiles, and all your profiles is like profile.objects.get .all, for example. Get all the profiles. And then you're going to loop through all your profile. You're going to say for profile in profiles, right? For profile in profiles, you're going to run a function that checks subscription. And this function looks exactly the same as this one. Instead, it doesn't return anything. It just checks that the status is there and it's active. And if the status is active, maybe it returns true. And if it's not active, it returns false. But if it's not active, the most important thing is that it resets the subscription and type and it saves it. So that if for some reason somebody goes and cancels their subscription with PayPal directly, you check for it. And then you want to run a function like this every hour or every day, depending on how busy your website is. And you're going to run it like in the background tasks. So you're going to maybe use something like Celery with a Redis server or something like that. And Django's got nice Django Celery server. Django Celery, a package that you can use, and then you can run it like on a beat schedule, and you can run it like every hour, every day, every 2 hours, depending on how risky this thing is for you. Maybe once a day is sufficient. If somebody subscribed maybe for 1 day, you can catch them out, and then you cancel it. Or maybe every hour, you can even run it every hour. All right. And then you catch the guys that cancel their subscription. You catch the guys that payments didn't go through and PayPal canceled those subscriptions. You catch everybody whose subscription is not active, because all you're doing over here with the billing is that you're activating the subscription. So you need to have the reverse of that, of checking that the subscriptions are active and deactivating their access if their subscriptions are not active. And all you're going to do is change the subscription type and everything, and then your functions over here will take care of the rest for you. Because once the subscription type has been changed back to the free version, when they are running anything, the allowance checks for only gives them 5,000 words. You understand? So the moment they're above 5,000 words, they lose their allowance and they can no longer do anything. So, and then this check for allowance, you need to check this allowance every time. So these buttons, this dashboard, these buttons where they can generate a blog over here, you know, these buttons, these pages, they need to be deactivated if the allowance is false. So you're going to check for the allowance, and if the allowance is false over here, you deactivate these buttons, and then they cannot do anything any further. You understand? So I'm explaining for you how to do it. I'm not going to do it in this lecture because it's actually very easy for you to do. I think I've done what's necessary for me to show you how to build your own SaaS platform. And we've had so many lectures today that if I show you everything, we'll have a million lectures before we finish. What I'm going to do next week now is that we are going to deploy this application. Okay, we are finally going to deploy this. We're going to take it up. Probably we'll redo our landing page. I've been unhappy with my landing page for a while. I don't like this template, but I just kept it because I knew I would like change it at the end. Right, so maybe what we'll do next week is that we'll redo our landing page template to look more professional. So we'll redo this page, and then we will deploy this application, and we'll go through the process of deploying an application, a Django application. I'll show you how to deploy it on a production server so that it's ready for people to start accessing and using your application. So we'll do that next week, and thank you guys for watching. See you guys next week.